Story 1. Lonely at first, then the getting back out there phase. Don't even get me started. It's like relearning how to socialize. My mind literally draws blanks when I try to talk to people now. Story 2. It's bittersweet. You feel lonely, but in a different way than when you were with your ex-friend. Groups change because a long-term relationship causes many friends to merge into groups of couples. You have to relearn how to do many things. Dating feels exciting but often strange and wrong. It is exhausting because you had someone you were on level 9 with, and now you are starting at level 0 again. It is like finishing a puzzle and having to start over. You want to see it completed, but you are tired and do not want to do it again. Story 3. Wow. I am in a very different place than before. Feels freeing, absolute freedom. I can breathe again and have my mind and self back. I can reconnect with myself. Learning new things is a bit scary, but overall it is amazing. Story 4. It's scary because you do not know whether the single people you meet at your age caused the breakup or were the ones who were left. I tried a few times, and it became clear they were not ready for a relationship. I was being shoehorned into a role left by someone else and asked to carry that person's baggage. You have to learn to be happy alone before you can be happy with another person. Story 5. You are guaranteed to feel lonely for a while. You will have a lot of time to yourself. This is an opportunity to change for the better or, for some people, for the worse. All the people you once fantasized about while in the relationship will suddenly vanish because you can only think about your last partner. You are generally not emotionally interested in others for a while unless the relationship was already coming to an end. It is much easier if you do not share living arrangements, finances, or children. Combining any of these, especially children, makes recovery much more difficult. Story 6. It is unpleasant, but it is better than being in an unhappy relationship. Story 7. You may feel lonely, especially after your friend groups change. Connect with family and pursue hobbies that help you meet people and build new relationships. Story 8. 95% awesome, 5% lonely. It's honestly great most days. I get off work, have whatever I want for dinner, and do what I want at night. I can play video games all weekend if I like. I never have to go somewhere I do not want to, especially with in-laws I dislike. There are a handful of nights each year that are really lonely. Not holidays specifically, but random nights when you are surrounded by 4 or 5 couples and feel like the odd one out. Our workplace had a party last year and everyone brought their significant other. I felt out of place, so I left early. Of course, I won a raffle and was not there to collect it, which drew even more attention. That was a rough night. The next night was all pizza and beer, so I was fine. Story 9. Enormous relief. I remember the night my ex-husband walked out and I knew he was not coming back. I made a cup of tea and sat on the couch, expecting to sob and wail and feel devastated as I realized this was the end of our marriage. Instead, my shoulders dropped, my back relaxed, and I began breathing more slowly. Felt peaceful and good. Divorce was not easy. I do not wish that nightmare on anyone. Going through it was a million times better than staying in my marriage. Woman, married 17 years, divorced 11 years. Story 10. I'm lonely. I never lost myself or my hobbies in my last long-term relationship like others described, so I'm not interested in dating because, unfortunately, most people kind of suck. Maybe it will get better one day, but nothing matters anyway. Story 11. I am a widow after a 30-year relationship with my soulmate. After the first year, I am beginning to enjoy being single. I choose what, where, when, and whom based only on what I want instead of what is best for others. It is like flexing a muscle you have never used. I am happy, content, and at peace. Story 12. We ended it respectfully. It was not dramatic. For me, the feeling was freedom to chase my own path, to experience things I had felt restricted from experiencing, such as genuine friendship and being a role model, to understand myself, and to see what opportunities would arise. 2 years later, I feel I understand myself and others better. I have a purpose outside of being a loving partner, a social support circle, a decent job, and an idea of a future career. I had ups and downs, but overall ending it was the right move. Story 13. Your sense of independence has returned, and you find comfort in solitude. However, balancing that with the need for companionship can be tricky. Story 14. A few years ago, I got divorced after an 18-year relationship and a 14-year marriage. Things had not been good for a long time, but we had children and had built our lives together, and the prospect of losing or restructuring that was terrifying. I was very close to her family, and the prospect of losing my relationship with them in some ways scared me more than the prospect of losing her. I know this analogy does not land with everyone, but in the Midwestern United States we have cicadas, insects that in summer and fall nights get very loud. They are almost always present, making it hard to hear people, causing you to speak a little louder, and making it hard to think, but you barely notice them because they are constant during that time of year. Then sometimes, out of the blue, they go quiet, and only after they are gone do you recognize the stress they had been causing you without your conscious awareness. That is what moving out was like. I was no longer walking on eggshells. I did not have to do things the way she wanted, and I no longer had the chaos introduced by her attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Things became easier in ways I had not realized were difficult. I ended up with 50-50 custody of the children, and we live close enough that I see them just about every day. Her family has been very kind to me and still treat me like family. I had her parents over for brunch this past weekend. From a dating perspective, I did not stay single as long as I had intended. I thought I would have a casual phase, but I met a lovely woman fairly soon after putting myself out there, and we are coming up on 2 years together next month. Story 15. It is tough, but I felt alone while married, so it is not much different. Story 16. It starts out so horrible while your body adjusts to the chemical changes. Then it is bittersweet as you become hyper-aware of the changes but also miss them. Finally, it becomes liberating when you realize you are free from those thoughts and can live as you choose. Story 17. Healing is so hard because I genuinely cared about this person. We dated for 7 years, and I do not even know how it feels to be single again. Story 18. Half miserable, half relieved. At 58, I realize I gave her my best and final years. I am not going to bother even entertaining the idea of finding someone else now. Story 19. I miss when I could love without hesitation or overthinking. Story 20. It's strange. There are a lot of comments about experiencing loneliness on this post, but I actually felt lonelier while I was in the relationship. I feel much more at peace now than I ever did during the 7 years I spent with him. Story 21. It can be lonely when you lose your best friend, but it also makes you absolutely sure of yourself in ways you did not think possible. It allows you to ground yourself, know who you are again, be selfish in decision-making, reconnect with any faith or spirituality you believe in, and form much deeper friendships. Dating is difficult and strange, but it is also exciting and fun. It is full of contradictions. Most importantly, it teaches you that being alone is okay, you are stronger than you think, and you are 100% in control of your own happiness. Story 22. I felt relieved and free. I was 17 when I started dating my ex-partner. 8 years later, we broke up. I finally had time to figure myself out. I lost 30 kilograms. Technically 180 kilograms if we include him. Story 23. This is awful. I absolutely hate it. I loved being married and spending time with my partner. Story 24. One of my friends was due to get married, but he split up with his partner. Now he lives a responsible life, has a good job, and shares custody of his children. When he does not have his children, he uses dating websites and attends swinger parties. He seems really happy. Story 25. I ended a 1.5-year relationship about a month ago. It has been calm. I have been going on long walks every day. I have lost 5 to 6 pounds. I miss some parts of her and some parts of our relationship, but I miss being in a good relationship with a good partner the most. I can't imagine getting back into a relationship yet. I doubt that will happen for at least a few months. Story 26. I'm having fun, but I probably have a unique experience. Story 27. After the pain of the loss, getting back on the dating scene can be challenging. I married my high school sweetheart right after graduation, so I had little dating experience and none as an adult. 17 years later, being told by my ex that she was having an affair with a coworker was tough news. I took things slow, remained single for many years, and learned a lot about dating. Story 28. It depends. I had a good relationship that had to end, and I felt lonely as hell. I missed having a best friend. After that, I was in a toxic, one-sided relationship, and it was freeing to let him go. I missed him too, but not in the same way. I missed the memories, not the person. Story 29. In my experience, once the weight of grief begins to lift, the most powerful step you can take is to invest in yourself. Discover a hobby, document your journey, and share it. By doing this, you build a personal portfolio and create opportunities to connect with like-minded people. Over time, this path may lead you to a partner who shares your passions. Above all, enjoy the process. What you seek will find its way to you. Story 30. Calm. No disagreements. No compromising on what's for dinner. The ability to spend money how I want without someone second-guessing. If you do well on your own and do not get lonely, it is simply calm. Story 31. It depends on how you feel about the relationship. For me, it felt surreal but mostly positive. I could finally relax. Story 32. For me, it was very exciting and happy, but that's because I had been abused for years. Experiences must vary a lot in this regard. Story 33. Awesome. You feel so young and free with a clean slate again. Story 34. Great. I finally realized that my desire to leave a relationship when I am in one is stronger than my desire to enter a relationship when I am not. I guess I am not a couples guy. Story 35. It has been tough and lonely but rewarding in its own way. Not having dated for 12 to 13 years since high school has left me with no idea what to do when it comes to dating. Still, it has been good for finding myself. I spent much of this time working on myself physically and mentally. Story 36. I have been single for 10 years, and it has been great. I believe in love and respect those who have found a partner, but it is not for me right now. I have seen my coupled friends go through stressful times and serious arguments, which is why I avoid relationships. If a potential relationship appears and I am ready, I might be open to it. Until then, I will keep enjoying life. Story 37. Blissful. I would rather sleep with my dog than with a snoring man who sprawls and takes over the whole bed. Bonus points. No smelly socks, quiet when I want it, and I only have to clean up after myself. Story 38. Like any other ego death, it's painful, cathartic, and freeing if you're growth-oriented. Story 39. It is difficult, especially after your lives are enmeshed. Your friends and family are the same, and your routines are shared. It is abrupt, lonely, and heart-wrenching. You built a whole life with someone and suddenly you do not have one. Your ex could have been awful, but their friends become yours. People they did not really like are suddenly their best friends. Stay busy doing things or it becomes agonizing. I lost a job due to lack of productivity. It was a bizarre time. Story 40. It depends a lot on why you became single. If it was a mutual breakup, it is probably fine. In my case, discovering infidelity after 3 years made it very difficult to recover and be happy again. Story 41. I started out feeling lonely because having someone around had been my normal for almost 7 years. I started dating after a few months, and it was partly driven by that. After more than a year, I still feel lonely occasionally, but for the most part, one genuinely enjoy my own company. Story 42. It is hard at first, but liberating and rewarding afterward. It is easier when you have great support systems. Story 43. It's freeing, but it takes work to choose to feel that way. There are many benefits if you choose to look for them, but you may not be emotionally ready yet. I can tough love myself to reset my emotional state, but I know not everyone can do that. The world is your oyster now. You can make your next chapter whatever you want it to be. Story 44. This sucks. Any woman your age, I am in my early 40s, who is attractive enough to date and single is usually severely mentally ill. Younger women think you are creepy, want your money, or expect you to fix all their problems. Story 45. I'm 25 and a woman. Aside from the obvious challenges of online dating, I'm more self-assured about what and who I want. I low-key forgot that I'm a baddie who can pull. There was no roster while I was in a long-term relationship, but there is a line now that I'm single. Story 46. Freedom. I dated a girl in a long-distance relationship for 6 years through college, and we broke up when I was 22. Felt like my youth began that day. Story 47. It's like hitting the reset button, only you are older and out of touch. I don't particularly mind being alone at this juncture. It's quite peaceful with no chaos. Story 48. It kind of destroyed me for a little bit, but then I realized I can do so much more with my adult life this way. Laughing out loud. Story 49. It's freedom, being able to rediscover yourself, but it can be lonely at times. Change is scary, and dating is not what it used to be. It has definitely changed, and I don't think it's for the better. I enjoy doing my own thing, and being by myself is better than what I had in my last relationship, but I miss having someone to come home to and share things with. Story 50. It's devastating at first. You feel lonely and think you'll be alone for the rest of your life. Then you realize you have freedom, the relationship was never right, and you are ready to start moving on. Story 51. At first it was incredible and freeing, even as a single parent. A huge weight was lifted from my shoulders. Now it is lonely. My social life took a big hit, and I feel the chances of finding someone else are slim. Story 52. This is freeing and refreshing for me. The world feels more open and promising now. Story 53. Initially it was very difficult, even though I was the one who ended the relationship after almost 8 years. The other person had become a large part of my life. Over time I moved on, and staying busy helped a lot. I met someone recently and briefly dated, but it did not work out and we ended on good terms. I was surprised because the initial shock of the breakup had made me feel I could not imagine being with someone else. Time really does make things easier. Often, when you are not looking and focus on improving yourself, life can surprise you, and you may find that you can connect with someone again. Story 54. I have not done that yet. I have only had one long-term relationship with my wife. Before that, my relationships were short-term. I imagine it would vary a lot based on how you became single. Leaving someone who treated you badly is completely different from losing a partner you still loved. Ending a relationship amicably is different from being dumped or from being cheated on. Story 55. It was strange but also exciting. I lived alone for 2 years after getting out of a 7-year relationship. They were the loneliest but best years of my life. Story 56. It sucks, especially with children involved. For a little while I had the family I always dreamed of, and then it was gone. I love my daughters, but I did not sign up to be a single father. Story 57. It was great. I spent time remaking myself and discovering what I wanted from life and relationships. Focusing on my healing before meeting my current partner made a big difference. I made many changes and experienced significant personal growth. I highly recommend it. Story 58. According to People magazine, if you are a celebrity, you will be single for 3 months, then find a hedge fund manager worth $80 gazillion, and the cover story will be titled How I Finally Found Happiness. Story 59. Painful, guilt-ridden, and grief-filled, but also freeing, life-affirming, and full of new possibilities. Story 60. There have been many adjustments. Friends and family have probably taken sides, and some people have stayed. It takes time to get over the relationship and figure things out. The real benefit is that you now have plenty of time for personal growth, which will help before entering your next relationship. Good luck. Story 61. Ter a cama inteira só para você. Parece pouco, mas depois de anos dividindo, dormir na diagonal é luxo que não tem preço. Story 62. Freeing, terrifying, and lonely, but you never have to put up with anyone's nasty, dirty clothes, so that is a positive. Dogs over dudes. Story 63. It was a 2-year period of life during which I learned, grew, and matured exponentially. I am glad I had those years before meeting the man who will soon be my husband. Story 64. Start exercising immediately if you are not already. Being in the best shape of your life after a breakup will help you a lot. Story 65. Liberating with all the wonder and anxiety that follow. Story 66. Funny, I used to work for a man named Harry. He was a little older than most of us but very active. He used to book scuba trips in the islands. A young coworker was having marital problems and, knowing Harry was divorced, asked how he dealt with the loneliness after a split. Harry said that when his wife told him it was over, he had a lot to do to keep from jumping for joy. He said it felt like one of the best days of his life. I guess that is how you know you are done. Story 67. It depends on how the relationship ended. If it was extremely toxic, the feeling can be liberating. If the breakup came out of nowhere and was likely due to infidelity, it can feel like a gaping wound that makes you doubt your self-worth and the many years you invested in the relationship. Story 68. My friend is doing it a second time. He is desperately lonely and willing to rush into another relationship to fix that, regardless of whether it will be healthy. His last relationship was an impromptu quick fix, and it backfired just like the first. Story 69. God. It was so freeing and honestly euphoric for me because I left to explore my queerness. My friendships got much stronger. My mental health is at an all-time high, and it's not even close. I learned a lot about myself. I was scared of dating and sex. First, but also really excited. I found a partner quickly and easily, and that was wonderful for a while. Then it became too intense and we broke up. We're in a little situationship for the time being. Maybe someday it will lead back to something serious, but it's more likely to end in a mess. Anyway, I'm technically single again, and I'm not as scared or as excited as I was last time. I just feel more confident and like everything is going to be okay. I want to spend this time really finding myself and enjoying being myself outside of a partnership, going to therapy, getting medical treatment I've been putting off, getting back into my art, and finding a new job that I actually care about. Much of my life is different, and it's all great, even the bad parts. Story 70. I was lonely and sad and involved with a fuckboy for a year. I have accepted being alone and have mostly enjoyed it for 5 years, with no intention of getting involved with another partner right now. Story 71. A friend described it as losing half of oneself and trying to fill the missing half by relearning and remembering the parts of himself that were there before the relationship. Story 72. Probably depends on how healthy the relationship was. My 12-year relationship ended very messily and really messed my head up. A year later, I still do not know the real story. The divorce was finalized last week. There was a lot of gaslighting that made the situation unbelievable to anyone who would listen. I started therapy and learned that my partner was abusive. There was a sporadic pattern of interrogation, obtaining false confessions, and emotional blackmail. I told her I felt abused, I was yelled at for it, and later I called her a name. She left, allegedly because of that. I have no desire to seek intimacy right now. I spend most of my time alone and I enjoy it. I have had so much time that I have been able to learn machining and metalworking. It is somewhat therapeutic, though I doubt my neighbors appreciate the noise when I cut steel with my large angle grinder. It is hard because we were at the stage of life where we planned to have children. I still cannot untangle any of it because our issues were so subtle and she was not honest with me, even during the divorce. I had to cut contact completely because it felt like she was punishing me by wanting to remain friends while also saying she was still in love with me. For me, it feels empty with some good moments, some suicidal thoughts, and a lot of crying. Story 73. I am going through this now. A few weeks after the breakup, I feel alone and empty. Story 74. I'm nearly 50, we share children, and my ex is inconsistent. Much of her wants us, but she pulls back after she starts to feel something. I'm too old for the drama and resent having to treat my love and old friend as a nobody just to move on. I need to stop giving in. Story 75. You realize the eligible dating pool is really small and it kind of sucks, laughing out loud. Many people are willing to waste your time since there are so many options. Story 76. We knew each other for 5 years and dated for about 3. You could say we were together for 4 years, but it was never made official and it effectively ended after just over 3 years. I've done some self-reflection. We've talked a couple of times, and I'm aware of what he and I did. Nobody is perfect. I would still help him if he asked. I would be willing to be hurt if it meant his happiness. We didn't end things on bad terms. I still love him and we talk every day, even if briefly. I've told him I want to try to make it work, but he has to choose me too. I can't force anyone to love me, and he doesn't want to try again. It's been 1.5 months, and I'm starting to give up. I don't want to try anymore. Although he says he wants to stay friends, I don't know if I can do that. I think it's time to ask for no contact after our next meeting. He said he doesn't know if he wants no contact when I asked recently. He said he never expected me to try. He expected to heal after 2 to 3 months and move on. When I asked if he wanted me to stop, his answer was unclear. I felt unseen because he was absorbed in a job that was destroying him. He hated it. I had been in a similar position. He called me negative, but it was hard for me to quit because of the job market. Eventually, I did quit and told him he needed to leave his job too. But he wouldn't. Couldn't bear to see him suffer, and I suffered as a result. He recently quit because I crossed one of his boundaries by showing up at work to drop off some small things, using a boys' night as an excuse. I feel awful and tired. I hate that it took me being there after we broke up for him to leave his toxic job. I hope he can find himself and happiness. I want to be his friend and be there for him through anything, but I'm scared, hurt, and lost. Part of me hopes we can reconnect and try again later once we've healed. The other part hopes he finds himself and that special person, even if it's not me. If someone else does find him, I only ask that they love him as much or more than I did. I feel empty. I hurt most days and drink to cope. I can't sleep. I've tried melatonin, NyQuil, and alcohol. I hate my life and I'm just trying to occupy my time. I do work on myself and on what went wrong, but I can't do that every day. I'm alive but nowhere near living. I live to work and then I'm stuck with myself afterward. Story 77. Some days it feels like I wasted 14 years on someone who was willing to cheat on me. Other days I am grateful we did not have children or a merged bank account. It has been a challenge getting used to being alone after living with her for 7 years and being able to talk to her about anything and everything for most of those years. It does not help that my work schedule makes meeting new friends and potential partners difficult, but I am working on that. I also have not felt the need to actively meet people in over a decade, so those skills are extremely rusty. Story 78. My experience. I ended a 7-year relationship. We were engaged when I was 38. I felt like a zombie for about 4 months. Experienced repeated rejection on dating applications, and by the grace of God met my current partner. We have been together 6 years. That very short window was awful. I had wanted to give myself a year to play the field because I had never dated casually and my prospects were low. But the dating market delivered a resounding go away that seriously hurt my self-esteem. Story 79. It is awesome. Expect at least 3 women a day, plus a bonus one behind the bins. Story 80. I am about to find this out myself. After a 15-year relationship and after getting through a breast cancer diagnosis, treatment, surgeries, and recovery together, we are very likely headed for divorce early next year. I break down crying almost every day. The medication and therapy feel like a bandage on the gaping hole directly through to what is left of my heart. And it is a Friday. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.